So, I was asked to say a few words. So I'll start with a question. Who cares about their own health and happiness? Who cares about their children and their grandchildren's future? Who cares about the very survival and well-being of our planet? Then it's incumbent upon you, and when I say you, I don't mean the vague you, I mean each and every one of us, myself and all the Yogaville residents included, to really prioritize your spiritual practice in the coming year. Make 2019 the year when you really put down your foot to your mind and all its shenanigans and said, I'm going to assert mastery, and I'm talking about the big I, so that we can find real peace and then express that in our lives. The whole world is yearning for one thing: peace. And I can tell you from my little sojourn on earth this round, from my observation and experience, that enduring peace that we're seeking cannot be negotiated by politicians. It cannot be guaranteed by treaties. It certainly will never be won on a battlefield. The only way we're going to realize it to any degree is when we find it in our own hearts, and that blazing flame of light and truth and peace spreads more and more through the world. Would you agree? Okay, easy to shake your head and agree. Who is going to do it? Who? I don't see every hand up. The great anthropologist Margaret Mead said, a small group of people can change the world. All it takes is a small group of people. Indeed, she said, it has never happened in any other way. So we're a moderate-sized group of people. We can make a difference. We can make a difference if we make the effort. If we make the effort. Years ago, when Swami Satchidananda was with us in physical form, every Saturday night he would come here to give satsang. He would speak to us. Most of the satsangs were very practical, very grounded, very gentle guidance about spiritual life. And then on one evening, there was a very different satsang. It was remarkable for those of us in the room, because he came in and the first thing out of his mouth was an announcement. Tonight, I'm going to tell you about the samadhi for integral yogis. And it was like every jaw in the room dropped. You have to understand, our satsangs were more like this. Once someone asked him, what are the rituals of integral yoga, Swamiji? And his answer was, well, when we go into a public bathroom, if it's dirty, we clean it. That's one of our rituals. Another one of our holy rituals is if we walk down the road and there's trash on the ground, we pick it up and we dispose of it properly. Those are our spiritual rituals. So you can imagine that's the context in which all of a sudden he said, I'm going to tell you about your samadhi. So we're all listening with bated breath. And he said it's called Sahaja Samadhi, which means the easy, comfortable samadhi. And this is very pertinent for tonight's message. It's a samadhi in which you have dual awareness. Simultaneously, you experience the peace, that divine presence, that unifying spirit within your heart. And at the same time, you see the diversity, all the various names and forms. Okay, you got the picture? It's like you're at the ocean. You see, excuse me, the grand body of water. You also see the waves, the foam, the ripples, and everything like that. Because you're rooted in the unity, you can interact with the diversity with skill and ease. Because you see the unifying spirit that unites us all, any prejudice, any narrow-mindedness, any undesirable thoughts toward others are dissipated, like the morning mist before the sun when it rises. And what is the thing, at least I would say, that is really tearing our world apart now? For some reason, we've become very afraid as a society, as a world culture of differences, Would you agree? I'm not siding with any political ideology or anything like that. I'm just making a general observation of what we are seeing on the world stage. The only way to overcome that is first to get an understanding of the unity, at least understand it intellectually, and then through practice, experience it in truth. Imagine if you walked in a garden one morning, okay? You walk in a garden, and somehow you're able to hear the language of the flowers. And as you're listening, you see a rose turn to a chrysanthemum and say, "What are you doing here? I'm so much more beautiful than you. I should be the only flower in the garden." And the chrysanthemum gets a little crestfallen, but then she spots a daisy, and she points at the daisy, and she says, "Well, at least I'm better than her. Look at that puny little wild thing." And then an orchid off in the corner says, "What are you all talking about? I'm so much more evolved than any of you. I should be the only one in the garden." We would say this is ridiculous. What makes for a beautiful garden? Different colors, different shapes, different textures, different forms, different fragrances. If it were a garden of just red rose, red rose, red rose, red rose, we would very soon get bored. But somehow we don't have that same good common sense when it comes to the beautiful diversity of the human condition. The beautiful diversity.
destined fire. We're gonna trip the light. We're gonna break the night. And we'll see with new eyes when we trip the light. Come on and trip the light. We're gonna break the night. And we'll see with new eyes. We're gonna trip the light. We're gonna break the night, and we'll see with new eyes when we trip the light. We're gonna trip the light. We're gonna break the night, and we'll see with new eyes. We're gonna trip the light.
We're going to trip the light. We're going to break the night. And we'll see with new eyes when we trip the light. Remember, we're lost together. Remember, we're the same. We hold the burning rhythm in our hearts. We hold the flame. And in the morning light, I'll remember as the sun will rise, we are all the glowing embers of a distant fire. What I like so much about that little clip is that depicted among the places are countries that in subtle and not so subtle ways were taught to fear or distrust. And when you look at the people, you see the same light, the same playfulness shining through everyone's heart, through their eyes, reverberating through their hearts, and dancing through their little feet. It's the same light. Swami Satchidananda once said, if they made me in charge of the world for one day, I would know how to bring peace everywhere. He said, I'd get 2 big boats. On one, I would place all the political leaders in the world. On the other boat, I would place all the religious leaders in the world. I'd send them both far out into sea, and then all the regular people could be happy. A message from a master. A message from a master. When you think about it, because I think about these things, this earth is a tiny speck in the vastness of the galaxy. It's our common home. It's spinning at terrific speed through space. Do you know it rotates on its axis 1,000 miles per hour? It revolves around the sun 67,000 miles per hour. We are moving at those speeds now. Is anyone dizzy? You know, I studied science in college, but it's still remarkable to me that we don't fall off. You know, when you see pictures of the universe and the galaxies, they can give it names. Oh, gravity, oh, this force, that force. They're just labeling. They're just labeling. To me, it's still a miracle that we don't fall off. And on this tiny little ball, twirling and whirling through space, all of us, and we're almost 8 billion now. We're born, we grow, we strive and thrive, then we decline, and then we disappear from view. And the thing is, our destinies are totally linked. We are totally interconnected. Swami Satchidananda used to say, we are cells, of one universal body. The Reverend Martin Luther King said, we are caught in an inescapable net of mutuality. We're tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one person directly affects all the rest of us indirectly. We can't comfortably feel, well, they're having a problem over there. It's not my concern. When we had the tsunami in Japan, 2011, do you know a few months later, the same radioactive particles from that event showed up in the milk in Charlottesville? We can't say, oh, that's Japan's problem. In 1986, when the Chernobyl disaster occurred, some of you in the audience are old enough to remember that. I was living in San Francisco at the time. I didn't know anything had happened. I walked outside, my skin started burning. I had to go inside. I called all around, the weather bureaus, the science labs, is something happening? No, nothing's happening. Try to go out the next day, couldn't go out. I couldn't go out a whole week because my skin would burn. And finally, they were saying the prevailing winds were blowing the effects of that disaster to the west coast of this country. We can't comfortably say, that's their problem. It doesn't concern me. The fact of the matter is, we're in this together. We're in this together. Yeah, I'm thinking of another quote of Martin Luther King, where he said, we'll either learn to live together as brothers, and I would say, and sisters, or we will die together as fools. That's it. Yep. Those are the two options. The two options. So let's take it home, bring it back to us. Tomorrow you leave. What I would strongly recommend before you leave this property, while all this is still strong in your mind, write a practice plan for yourself. Be reasonable. Don't challenge yourself unrealistically, setting yourself up for frustration and failure, and thereby giving you a good excuse to quit in a few days. That's one of the tricks of, well, I thought I'd try this. One of the subtle tricks of the lower mind. Be reasonable. When you get up, do a little meditation, do a little pranayama, do a little hatha yoga. That's what? Twice a day. It can change your life. If you think you're too busy, I'll just tell you the words of the great Catholic saint, St. Francis de Sales. He said, a half-hour meditation every day is essential, unless you're very busy. Probably the people in the audience were going, thank goodness he understands. But the next thing he said, in that case, a full hour is needed. So I don't want to insult anyone in the room, but I'm here to tell you that no matter how important your role on this earthly plane may seem at the moment, none of us is that important that we can't find a few precious minutes a day, literally, to save our souls, to find that peace, and to help bring that peace into the world. So have formal sittings preferably twice a day, but don't leave it on the cushion. Even if you meditated for 2 full hours a day, if you left it on the cushion, how many hours are there in a day? So it's just a matter of mathematics, arithmetic. If you're training your mind for 2 hours and letting it run amok for 22 hours, which force will predominate in your life? Just arithmetic. Amok will be in the lead 11-1. So how to bring it into your daily life? It depends on your temperament. It depends on your belief system. You can watch the breath. You can repeat a mantra. You can observe sensations, thoughts, perceptions as they pass through the mind. You can work on a virtue. You can practice karma yoga, trying to change everything into an act of loving service. So have a formal practice that you decide on. Don't keep changing. If you keep changing, it's like walking around a mountain instead of going to the peak. We want to reach the top of the mountain, not spend our whole life circling. Okay? It's good exercise, but it won't accomplish what we're trying to do. So, decide on a practice, do it twice a day. Determine ways to bring that practice into daily life. And the third and final aspect, look at your life and see, does this align with the spiritual goals I'm setting? You could look at your associations, your diet, your recreational choices. You can look at any and all aspects. And you don't have to throw yourself into major shock by changing everything all at once, but make an assessment and then find ways to align more with what you believe in. Living according to our beliefs is challenging, but essential. And don't think what you're doing is small, because each one's efforts supports the whole. Each one's efforts supports the whole. And don't think, well, I'm away in a little corner somewhere. What can I discover? What can I accomplish? I think of a great Buddhist master who once said, if you can't find the truth right where you are, where else do you expect to find it? So they say, charity begins at home. Everything begins at home. So make your home a living sanctuary. Make your life a beautiful offering on the altar of this universe. And may we all join together in prayer for the health, the happiness, the peace, the harmony, and the upliftment of all humanity, so we can use all the resources that we've been blessed with on this beautiful planet for the benefit of one and all. Thank you, and Happy New Year.